So we shot the Tampa Explained series about a year ago, and I keep seeing holes in it. And it's probably just me being a perfectionist, but I want to clarify a couple things. I'm Sam, and thanks for coming by the Living in Tampa channel, where we make videos about what it's like to live in Tampa. We're also a team of realtors, so if you have any real estate specific needs or questions, we would love to hear from you. So I set out to make this Tampa Explained series last year to kind of build a library of stuff for you guys, so that whenever you are deciding, hey, I think we want to live in Tampa, but then like, how do we understand the basic framework of the city, of the suburbs, and kind of what area will be best for us? And we're really proud with how this whole series came out, but there's a hole that I want to talk about right now. The biggest hole in this whole series is that we assumed that you want to move to Tampa, but I want to talk a little bit higher level of, okay, maybe you want to live in Florida and you're trying to decide where you want to live in Florida. And these are some of the things that people talk to me about when they're trying to make this decision. And the way I think of it, there's this kind of level of decision making whenever you're thinking about living in an area. And it goes like state, city, and then kind of like a larger area of a city like the county, a smaller area like the town, and then it goes like to community, like which side of the town, and then it goes down to neighborhood, and that's like the people you live next to, that you interact with, and that you have community with. Community should have been both of those words, I don't know, you get it. So right now, let's assume you want to move to Florida. We're making that basic assumption. Now you need to decide where to live in Florida. And the reason that most people want to live in Florida is because of the warm weather and the water. So let's assume you want to live on a coast. So you want to live on the Gulf Coast or the Atlantic Coast. The Atlantic Coast has bigger waves, has a little bit of surf, has a little bit more action to the water. Also with that, has quite a bit more wind, has quite a bit less seashells, like those kind of things. And the Gulf beaches, and of course I'm gonna sound biased in this, I live on the Gulf side. Gulf beaches are beautiful white sand, breezy but calm, very, very calm. No waves unless there's a storm. And as someone who didn't grow up taking a boat out on the water, the Gulf side feels a lot less intimidating to me to kind of get into that world. In my opinion, overall, I think the Gulf side actually has more diverse activities because it's kind of less intimidating water to me. Maybe you're not intimidated by the water and you're just gonna, you know, buy a boat and go out and do your thing, and so it doesn't really matter which side. When you call, you should ask me about the time that I almost drowned in Hawaii, or that I thought I was drowning in Hawaii. So that will kind of show you some of my fear of big water. So that's Atlantic side versus Gulf side. Now let's just assume whichever side you want to be on, you want to be kind of close to a big city. And one of the main reasons to be close to a big city, even within an hour, is the airport. You know, you've got friends and family around the country or the world that you want to see. And when you're close to a small airport, you're just, you know, hopping over to the next big airport before you can go anywhere. So that rules out areas like Sarasota and Fort Myers. Then if we're sticking to the coast, that puts us with Tampa versus Jacksonville and Miami. And maybe Orlando's still in there. You could kind of live on either side of Orlando and be somewhat close to that airport. And I understand a lot of you are drawn to Orlando. We'll get into that draw to Orlando as well. But for now, let's try to answer the question, why do people choose Tampa? First of all, it does fit that criteria of being near water, being warm, and being close to a big airport. But let's focus a little bit more on weather. Weather is a big factor when people want to move to Florida. Right now, it's early October, and it's very beautiful outside, not hot and sweaty. Still a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of breeze. The weather in this area is really delightful as soon as kind of like the summer and hurricane season slows down. But maybe you can handle the heat too. Somebody just reached out to me the other day. They're in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they want to move down here because they have a landscaping company and they can work year-round down here. So they're kind of automating their business up in Cincinnati, have it running with a little team, and then they're moving down here to start another one. And there are a lot of businesses that can optimize because of these warm seasons throughout the year. Another reason that people choose Florida and people choose Tampa is Disney. And I know Disney's in Orlando, but it is just about 2 hours away from Tampa. For some people, that feels like the right distance where they could easily do a day trip. I'm often surprised how big of a factor this actually is. I'm not actually a Disney fan. Maybe my kids are too young for me to care about. I don't know. But people are so into it. People really care. People want to be able to have a pass and utilize it. So people want to be closer and Tampa is a unique option for that. And Disney is a big reason that people visit, people move, people buy vacation homes. Disney is a big driver of the whole state. Okay, another reason people choose Tampa is because of the potential in Tampa. And of course, I'm a realtor, I'm biased. I think that everything's on the upside. I think how home prices are gonna go up. I think it's a good time to buy and a good time to sell. Like, I get it. But let me just kind of share my perspective about the whole area. And the thing is, if you're watching this, you probably already decided what you're going to do. You just need a little bit more details to help you make the next level decision. And that's what this is for. The greater Tampa area has tons of potential and investors are dumping money into it all the time. They're building tons of new residential condo towers in downtown Tampa and downtown St. Petersburg. And these little downtown areas are booming. And I say little because they're actually not very big geographically. There's constantly new parks and museums. They're renovating an old shopping mall up on like the north side of Seminole Heights. They're restoring old cigar factories into new condos. They're doing all kinds of really cool things like this. And on top of this, there's always investors that are flipping houses, updating houses, and developers building new neighborhoods in the suburbs. One question that I have in the midst of all of this new development, because the new development is obvious, but who are the big employers in the midst of all this? Other cities have some big player employers, and the Tampa area doesn't have as many of those. Of course, the medical system here employs a lot of people. I say of course, maybe you don't know that. Technically, Tampa is kind of like a medically impoverished area, so we need more medical workers than there currently are. So they're constantly hiring and growing, and there's big hospitals and cancer centers and all kinds of things like that. Of course, the counties and cities employ educators in all kinds of levels of schools, all the way up to big colleges and down to preschools. In the midst of all this, Tampa is the busiest port in Florida. So the port that's like right there in the middle of downtown is the biggest and busiest port in all of Florida. And it kind of makes Tampa this central like logistics and infrastructure hub for the state. One client reached out the other day. He's actually moving from Canada. He's an engineer and he's working for a manufacturing company in Lakeland, but he wants to live in Tampa. He does like robotics for medical manufacturing. So even those kind of things are right around here. That kind of logistics heavy manufacturing, automation, those kind of things are popping up all the time, but it's still not like a big employer driving a lot of that. And then of course, travel and tourism also employs a lot of people. So restaurants and hotels and everything in between in that industry does employ a lot of people, and there's opportunities for small businesses in that all the time. Whether you're renting out paddle boards, or I have this idea that if you were at the beach and you could like get on your phone and you could order an ice chest full of stuff, I think it would really do well. I mean, maybe not that well. But imagine being at the beach and you're like, I want some Publix subs and I want this beer and I want this drink, and someone could just deliver it in an ice chest. Maybe it would cost too much. I don't know. It's a fantasy idea I have. Okay, so this is just kind of high level Tampa stuff. I get it, it's pretty high level. Next video, I wanna get into the counties. So let's talk about Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, Pasco County, and then Hernando County up further north. And then we'll kind of lump in that Bradenton, Sarasota area that sometimes gets lumped into the greater Tampa area. I don't really agree that it's part of that, but we'll talk about that as well. Please comment down below any questions you have about this level or any input you have. Maybe you moved here and you're employed by one of these companies I mentioned. Like, let us know what your experience is. People are always trying to understand ahead of time what they're going to experience when they move up to a place like this. Thanks for coming by.